Namaste. So today I'm going to read Book 5, Chapter 20, on the peace of the world in the Maha Devi Bhagavatam. Om Vakratu Namakai Koti Suris. Hariyam Tatsat. Janamejaya said, O best of rishis, I have now seen the wonderful excellent deeds of the Devi for the enhancement of peace in this world. Though I have heard from thy lotus face these nectar-like words, still I am not satisfied, O best of munis. What did the chief of devas do when the goddess disappeared? Kindly say to me. O Bhagavan, I think those jivas cannot fully comprehend these excellent sacred deeds of the Devi that are less fortunate and have done not many meritorious deeds in this world. O Muni, what to speak for the less fortunate souls? Even the Mahatmas who are well versed in hearing such things can hardly be satiated on hearing the Devi's deeds. O fie to those that do not hear these things, the essence of essences, on hearing which men become immortals. The mother's Leela is to preserve the Devas as well as the great Munis and to serve as a boat for the human beings across this ocean of world. How can then the grateful souls forsake her? The Pandits' verse in the Vedas declare that the Devi's life is able to fulfill all desires. Therefore, the liberated souls that want liberation, the worldly souls, the diseased, all ought to drink incessantly the nectar of Devi's doings, especially the kings that are engaged in dharma, in earning wealth and in enjoyments, ought to hear her life. O Muni, when the liberated souls drink the nectar-like doings of the Devi, what doubt can there be with the ordinary human beings to listen with rapt devotion those wondrous things? O best of Munis, it is those that worship the goddess Bhavani in their previous births with beautiful kunda flowers, champaka flowers, and bay leaves. They have, in this inferred, in their present births, become possessed of rich enjoyments. And those devoid of any devotion that obtained this human body in the land of Bharata and did not worship the mother goddess, they are, in the present births, without grains and riches, diseased and void of any issues. Wander they always as servants carrying out orders and bearing out the burden loads day and night. They seek for their own selfish ends, yet they cannot get their belly full meals. The blind, deaf, and dumb, lame, and lepers suffer pain and misery in this earth. Seeing them, it should be inferred that they never worshipped the goddess Bhavani. And those that are wealthy, prosperous, attended by numerous attendants, and are always enjoying like kings, it is to be inferred that they certainly worship the lotus feet of the mother goddess in their past lives. Therefore, O son of Satyavati, as you are kind-hearted, kindly narrate before me the excellent deeds of the Devi, O best of Munis, where that the goddess Mahalakshmi, created out of the energies of all the gods, depart, after she had slain the Mahishasura and had been worshipped and praised by the Devas. O highly fortunate one, you told me that she vanished from the sight of the Devas. Now, I like to know where she's staying now, whether in the heavens or in the land of mortals. Did she melt away then and there, or did she descend to Vaikunta, or did she go to the mountain Sumeru? O Muni, narrate all these duly before me. Vyasa said, O king, I told you before about the beautiful Manidvipa. That island is the place of sport to the Devi and very dear to her. In that place, Brahma, Vishnu, Mahadeva were transformed into females. They afterwards became males and were engaged in their respective duties. That place is grand and splendid and is in the center of the ocean of nectar. The Devi, Ambika, assumed various forms there as she likes, and she sports there. To that Manidvipa, the auspicious Devi departed after she had been praised by the gods, to the place where sports always the eternal Bhagavati Bhuvaneshwari, the incarnate of Parabrahma. When the highest goddess vanished, the Devas installed on the throne of Mahishasura the powerful king Shatrughna, endowed with all auspicious qualities, the lord of Ayodhya, and descended from the solar line. After making him thus the king, Indra and the other Devas went to their respective abodes on their own conveyances. O king, the Devas having gone to their places, the subjects were governed on this earth according to Dharma, and they passed their times in ease and comfort. It used to rain then timely, and the earth was covered with plenty of grains and wealth. The trees were all filled with fruits and leaves, and gave enjoyment to people. The cows, with their udders full like earthen pots, gave such a profuse quantity of milk that men began to milk them whenever they liked. The rivers, waters, were all clear and cooling, and they flowed full in regular channels. The birds grouped round them. The Brahmanas, versed in the Vedas, were engaged in performing sacrifices. The Kshatriyas observed their virtues and were engaged in doing charities and in their education. The kings held their rods of justice and were engaged in governing their subjects. Though the several kings were busy with various arms and weapons, they all became fond of peace. Thus no wars, nor quarrels were seen amongst the subjects, and the mines yielded plenty of wealth to the people. O best of kings, there were the Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras who became the devotees of the goddess. The Brahmanas and Kshatriyas used then to perform so many sacrifices that at every nook and corner of this globe, the sacrificial altars and the sacrificial posts became visible. The female sex became gentle and of good behavior, truthful and chaste towards their husbands respectively. Atheism and unrighteous acts vanished entirely from the face of the earth. The people left all dry discussions. They argued only about the sastras that did not go in contradistinction to the Vedas. Nobody liked to quarrel with each other. Poverty and evil inclinations were checked. The people everywhere lived in happiness. Untimely death was not there. So the people had no bereavements with their friends. No distress was seen. Famine, want of rains, and deadly plagues were out of sight. The people had no illness even, and jealousies and quarrels vanished. O king, all men and women began to sport merrily everywhere, like the gods of heaven. Theft, atheism, deceit, vanity, hypocrisy, lustfulness, stupidity, and the anti-Vedic feelings were not to be seen. O Lord of the earth, all the men were then extremely devoted to their dharma and engaged in serving the Brahmanas. The Brahmins were also according to the threefold plan of the creation, sattvic, rajasic, and tamasic. The sattvic Brahmins were all versed in the Vedas, clever and truthful. They were kind, they controlled their passions, and they did not accept any presents from others. Filled with their ideas of dharma, they used to perform their purodasa and other such sacrifices with sattvic rice, etc. But never did they immolate any animals. O king, the sattvic Brahmanas gave charities, studied the Vedas, and offer sacrifices for themselves. These were their three ordained actions. They were busy in these. O king, the Rajasic Brahmanas were versed in the Vedas and acted as priests to the Kshatriyas. Note, when the victims is fastened during the time of immolation and ate flesh as sanctioned by recognized rules, they were busy with their 6 duties. They offered sacrifices on their own behalf, assisted others in sacrifices, took gifts, made charities, studied and taught others the Vedas. The Tamasic Brahmanas were angry, attached to worldly objects, and jealousy. They studied very little of the Vedas and spent most of their time in serving the kings. O king, Mahishasura was killed. All the Brahmanas were glad and began to practice dharma according to the Vedas, observed vows and made charities. The Kshatriyas began to govern the subjects. The Vyasa carried on their trading business, and the other tribes went on with their agriculture, preservation of the cows, and lending money on interest. Thus all men became very glad on the death of Mahesa, devoid of cares and anxieties. The subjects got much wealth. The cows were endowed with suspicious signs and gave plenty of milk, and the rivers flowed full of waters. The trees looked splendid with abundance of fruits. Men were without diseases. In short, people had no mental agony, and too much or too little of rains were not there. Salavas, mice, birds, and seditions were not extant. O king, the beings died not prematurely, rather enjoyed incessantly their full health and possessed lots of riches. Especially beings engaged in the Vedic Dharma served the lotus feet of Chandika and thus spent their lives. Here ends the 20th chapter of the 5th book on the peace of the world in the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Vedvyasa. Om Jayanti Mangalakali Bhadrakali Paritaka Kashmir. Om Tuya Mata Chipitatu.